It was Howard homecoming. I was just really on to hang out because homecoming, the streets was packed. It was a lot of, so I'm like, yo, huddle. Got out of there, pulled off, basically got over.
Did you hear the guy say he was trying to jack you?
Arms. He was treated and released from Howard University.
On oncoming traffic, like on the I, like if it's I-95.
Of music or not anything else, but you gotta realize me and my boys, we go.
We go into the night when Cam'ron, a resident of Harlem, faced death. Everything changed after the shooting in Washington, D.C. This story quickly becomes deep, with everything from flying gunshots to industry secrets.
It was Howard homecoming. I was just really on to hang out because I knew I wasn't booked that weekend, but I was like, I'm gonna go hang out. I knew Jim and Jewels had parties, so I'm like, I'm gonna go with them. Went down there to hang out, had a good time. We went down there pretty deep. It was, I probably had like 6 cars with me. And basically, I pulled up at a red light, me and my bro Hud. And we was at a red light and a guy pulled up next to me and pulled a gun out and he's waving the gun in my car. A Lamborghini's low to the ground. So I thought it was an undercover police officer because there was so many people outside.
This story is directly out of a motion picture. The night that Cam'ron, a resident of Harlem, encountered death in Washington, D.C. It was one of those evenings that permanently altered not just his life, but also the way he walked. At the time, Cam wasn't just any rapper. The rapper was him. The year was 2005. Dipset had the upper hand. Cam was living life to the fullest, and Purple Haze was brand new. It was all his. The jewelry, the showy automobiles, the pink fur coats, and the Harlem vibe. He was the epitome of a fly. However, the same attention that made him unique also made him a target. Everything happened over the weekend of Howard University's homecoming, which is one of the greatest hip-hop and street culture festivals on the East Coast. Celebrities, rappers, hustlers, and fans were all out there. Cam arrived that evening in his brand new, completely modified, bright blue 2006 Lamborghini. He had no intention of hiding. He was beaming, alerting the city to the presence of Harlem within the structure. But occasionally, that brilliance draws the incorrect type of attention.
Homecoming, the streets was packed. It was a lot of, so I'm like, yo, Hud, you see this waving a gun? And he's trying to open my door, but my doors is locked. But I didn't think nothing like this gotta be an undercover because a waving a gun this brazen, so to speak, in front of this many people, it had to be undercover in my brain. So I said, Hud, look at this waving a gun, what's up? So Hud, people who know my brother Hud, it wasn't funny, but the way he said it was funny. He's like, Gil, he called me Gil. He's like, Gil, you think you want to get out of here, maybe? So I was like, word, because I didn't know if it's undercover or not. And for those people that know, I had the Gallardo at the time, the Lamborghini Gallardo. Once you stop for more than like a minute, the car goes into neutral automatically. So when I went to step on the gas, the car wasn't moving. And once I revved the gas, it just started dumping in the car, shooting.
Everything changed as Cam drove through Washington, D.C., leaving the after party with his entourage in different cars behind. Suddenly, a car came up next to him. No license plates are visible, and the windows have a dark tint. Cam noticed the gun before he could react as the driver rolled down the window. The man insisted on having his car, a simple attempt at armed carjacking. However, Cam, being Cam, wasn't gonna give it up. I worked too hard for mine, man, he subsequently remarked. I'm not handing my whip to anyone. And he nearly lost his life as a result of that one choice. 7 rounds were fired through his window by the bandits. He was struck by 2 gunshots, one in each arm, which broke glass, sprayed blood, and caused havoc in that Lambo. Cam tried to flee by slamming the pedal and speeding off despite being hit. Just picture that moment. It is midnight in Washington, D.C. Cam'ron is battling to survive while driving, while the tires squeal and bullets fly. Even after briefly losing control and colliding with another vehicle, he persisted in driving. He persevered until his squad caught up and hurried him to Howard University Hospital.
I hit the paddle got out of there, pulled off, basically got away from them. I was with some other people behind me. I skirted on everybody because the homeboy started dumping. And like I said, he did that shit in front of, it had to be like 600 people just on that block. So I pulled out, I jumped on a highway. This was some real movie shit. I don't want to sound like Zeke, because Zeke's stories be sounding crazy. But I jump on whatever highway is the wrong way.
The doctor stated he was fortunate, very fortunate. One of those bullets might have struck an artery if it had gone an inch farther. The whole hip-hop community froze when the news leaked. The headline said, "Cam'ron shot in Washington, D.C." Supporters believed it was over. Another one was lost by Harlem. However, Cam managed to survive. And when he appeared weeks later, serene as usual, with his arm in a sling, he declared, "I'm fine. Inform them their killer is still alive." It turned into one of the most famous comebacks in the history of hip-hop.
Did you hear the guy say he was trying to jack you?
Like, get out the car. Give me the car, fool. I said, get the f*** out of here. Murked up. What happened was they told me to give up the car, and I looked at him like he was stupid, pulled off, and then he started shooting.
But behind that calm smile, Cameron was carrying.
However, Cam'ron had some serious ideas hidden beneath that serene grin. He subsequently said that night was a turning point in his life. He didn't enjoy what appeared to be a random robbery. It seemed overly detailed and structured. Cam began to allude to the fact that it was more than street crap. It had a connection to industry. It wasn't any regular DC dudes, he stated in a later interview. These were individuals who were aware of my destination upon my departure. It wasn't a coincidence. Rumor had it that a larger power struggle within the industry was connected to the shooting. Cam was in a difficult situation with record labels at the time. He was self-reliant, pushing deals under his own vision, and declining some transactions that didn't fit his hustle or loyalty. During their tense time, Cam publicly criticized several well-known figures, including Jay-Z, accusing him of attempting to thwart his advances at Rockefeller. Cam felt something wasn't right, whether it was street jealousy or business politics.
Arms. He was treated and released from Howard University Hospital. And tonight, after landing back here in Teterboro, he showed us the bullet hole still clearly visible in his left arm. But he says he is okay.
And me, I'm fine. I'm excellent, man. It was great.
He's fine now, but how about at that moment when he first faced the hijacker at this DC intersection?
I felt disrespected because nobody's going to take a $250,000 car from me, let alone a 5-cent piece of.
Even 50 Cent commented on it afterward, stating that Cam had a lot of people upset with him that year and implying that he might have offended the wrong people. However, the DC scenario felt more profound. After the shooting, Cam said some tried to change the narrative by calling it a random carjacking, but he didn't believe that. They said it was about my car, he said to XXL magazine. Man, hurry up. Nobody pulls automobile triggers like that. They desired my departure. As if it wasn't enough, the fallout was even more bizarre. Witnesses began to vanish days after the incident, and authorities said they had no leads. Cam claimed to have seen a couple of faces that didn't belong while he was in the hospital. Some are attempting to capture photos, while others are posing strange queries. At that point, he began to realize he was dealing with more than just street beef. He was dealing with something more significant and under control.
On oncoming traffic, like on the I, like if it's I-95, I'm driving on oncoming traffic, weaving all the traffic, and then HUD is like, Gil, they're not behind us, I think we good. But then I look down and I see mad blood. I'm like, yo, I think I hit. I didn't feel nothing, but I was like, yo, I think I'm hit. And so I finally got off the highway, and then the car broke down. And I'm like, why would we break down right by the project? But the streets is so flooded, it's crazy. So the car break down, I run up the mad people window bleeding, like, yo, can you take me? They like, yo, get away from here. Like, yo, you all shot up gas. And then one person recognized me, this dude, he's like, oh, Cam. I was like, yo, I'm shot. Can you take me to the hospital? So I jumped in with him. It's mad traffic. I'm just sitting in traffic. I'm like, yo, you gotta get me to the hospital. This calling, yo, Cam shot. I got him in the whip. I say, yo, bro, Could you just get me to the hospital? And then
You remember his name?
Nah, I actually don't. And I wish I could send him something. Cause when I pulled up, I didn't know where I was bleeding from. I just knew it was blood. And then when I pulled up to the hospital, I just ran in the ER. And then I basically was in the ER, and then, they probably put me to sleep. Everybody came over there. And then when I woke up, the cops was there. They were like, you see, the regular da-da-da. I'm like, I really don't know who did it, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of what happened. I ended up actually going to jail behind that shit because I was on probation at the time. And they was like, if you don't cooperate, then we violating your parole because you wasn't supposed to.
Cam gave clues for years, but he never gave entire identities. In subsequent interviews, he would grin and remark, "Let's just say I learned that everybody smiling at you isn't your friend. I know who did it, but I'm not saying," is what it means in Harlem. This is when things became even more bizarre. Cam lost all faith in people after that evening. He claimed that he began riding alone, taking care of himself, and maintaining a smaller social circle than before. He moved differently. No more flashing his auto while driving carelessly through cities. No more boasting about his future location. Cam realized that being famous makes you a target, and his wake-up call came that night in Washington, D.C.
Of music or not anything else, but you gotta realize me and my boys, we go hard. We got $1 million worth of jewelry on, we got $250,000 worth of cars, we candy paint everything, we like to live a luxurious life, and you got people who don't want to see that.
But nah, I never found out who did it, but there's a lot of people circling and rumors running around saying that I played the part of Alpo, and they don't like Alpo in DC, and that's kind of a couple years after the movie, et cetera, et cetera.
The problem is that Cam'ron's near-death experience rattled the entire Dipset movement, not just him. Juelz Santana, Jim Jones, and his team were all in disbelief. They had always thought of Cam as the general who could go any place with his head held high, untouchable. However, they had to retreat and reconsider the game when word spread that he had been hit. The group slowed down for a time. No more open interviews or wilding club appearances. Harlem seemed to get silent for a moment. However, Cam's recovery from it earned him even more admiration from his followers. He utilized that opportunity to rebrand himself rather than vanish. While many rappers may have relocated to Los Angeles or become silent, Cam stepped up. He continued to promote himself while remaining in New York. In one interview, he even stated, "They thought I was gonna run, but I'm still outside, just smarter."
He got shot over that road. In Washington. Yeah, that was over that.
Yeah.
And even he's never told this story, but it was times I didn't really realize what happened. He was like, I was asking him to do another role once. He was like, "Yo, bro, I got shot over," because it was a certain scene that he was like, "I don't want to do that scene." You know what I'm saying? And he was like, "It's going to be too much." So almost, when I found out that, I felt a little responsible, and I never wanted to put anybody in that position again, because people take this story really serious. So it has to be really done completely correctly. But there was a lot of layers that happened and perspectives that weren't.
He began to manage his story, move more strategically, and talk more circumspectly. He began constructing his media empire at that point, which eventually served as his platform. It is what it is. Mace's transformation from ostentatious rapper to astute mogul all stems from that night in Washington, D.C. He discovered that avoiding gunshots is not the only way to survive. It entails picking up chess skills while everyone else is playing checkers. Fans started to perceive a different change, still witty and self-assured, but wiser. He refrained from discussing street retaliation, naming the gunman, or pleading for pity. Rather, he dismissed it with a laugh. Months later, he showed up at a gig sporting a personalized hoodie that read, "You can't kill killer." The audience went crazy. Cam was essentially saying, "I made it through the fire, and I'm still shining."
Got killed in front of the precinct, for those who didn't understand what Murder was talking about. Because Pat Bev made a statement saying that
yeah, I was watching the movie. I mean, I thought Rico was some real nigga. I'd rather be him than Mitch. And I'm like, I didn't want to be Rico. Me and Dane Dash had a whole argument about that part. I'm like, yo, my. He said, Killer, it's all good. You know what happened when I played Rico? They shot me in DC.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened when I played Rico. Say you snitch ass nigga. They confusing motherfucking movies with real life. But you know why them DC for me? Because I didn't tell. Because I was on probation. You know what happened? I got shot and went to jail because I was on probation and wasn't supposed to be in DC. So when I got shot, they said, you either tell us who did it or you go to jail. I said, send me to jail. Then I went to right.
It had to be respected, even by those who had before doubted him. Cam became evidence that you could endure the worst and emerge stronger. In subsequent interviews, he claimed that his perspective on the world had changed as a result. That's when you're attractive, people in the industry treat you like a buddy, but they vanish when you're bleeding, and that's serious talk. The two worlds he lived in were revealed that evening in Washington, D.C., the one with the silencers and the one with the flashing lights. It demonstrated that success in hip-hop has a cost. Cam paid for it with blood, but wisdom allowed him to live.
I got surgery right here on the arm. I also got shot in my other arm to where it went straight through and didn't hit a nerve. That's why this arm is okay. I also got shot in this arm, but it went straight through and it didn't hit any nerve, so it was able to heal. This right here, it grows 1 millimeter a day, which is smaller than a centimeter. So it's gonna take a year or a little bit more to get the feeling all the way back up to here. So right here, from here to here, it grows 1 millimeter a day. So I won't be getting the feeling back in my arm, in my 2 fingers, I should say.
Even after all these years, Cam still discusses that night as if it were yesterday, not out of dread, but with perspective. He claimed that it taught him to walk with intention rather than arrogance. He became aware that not everyone in his immediate vicinity wanted him to survive. Some merely desired to profit from his notoriety. Others desired for him to fail. And that's what sets Cam apart from many other rappers. He discovered how to change without losing who he was. When you look at Cam'ron running it today, you can see that Mace continues to be astute in every interview while clowning people online. You are witnessing a man who overcame death and turned it into motivation. He was both humiliated and refined by that DC shooting. Years later, he said it himself. They believed that would deter me. It only strengthened me.
He was some type of carjacking or whatever the case may be. Cam wasn't going for it. And that right there kind of brought us closer. Because after Cam got shot, we kind of like, you know, it was like, damn, Cam got shot, the big homie. We protected that. Like he was God after that. And he called meetings, we was in the studio. Matter of fact, that's how the record Get 'Em Daddy got done. After Cam,
did he have to get up in the video?
He had the sling in the video.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So right after he got shot, he called the meeting. Everybody pulled up to the studio. Cam was on his bullshit. He was on straight gangster shit. As a matter of fact, remember when Tony Montana had the sling in Scarface? Yeah. Cam was on that type of time. Yeah. So he was like moving like a real true boss at that time. And that kind of brought us closer and we knocked out.
The film delves deeply into how Harlem's opinion of him was altered by that incident. He used to be just the ostentatious dipshit boss. After that, he came to represent resiliency, the man who survived the streets, celebrity, and hatred while still managing to survive. Even younger New York rappers claim that the story changed the way they moved, made them understand that excessive flexing can cause issues more quickly than money can. Perhaps this is the reason why many still like Cam, since he's genuine. He doesn't pretend to be traumatized to get attention. He truly experienced it. He truly understood the negative aspects of the game and emerged with knowledge that most rappers are never able to acquire. He's the epitome of how to survive the system without losing your soul.
That video was shot in your hood?
Yes. I had Cam in my hood with over $5 million in jewelry on with no security. I had Cam in my neighborhood around murderers, gangsters, and thieves with $5 million of jewelry on with no security.
Okay, that was
Let that sink in.
Why did you decide to do it? Why did you decide to do
It was Cam out there.
Okay.
He like, yo, we're going to your neighborhood, we're going to your block, we shooting it over there. I'm putting all the chains on, I'm bringing all the cars out. I'm just sitting there like, all right, okay, I gotta get the shooters, I gotta make sure everything is good, nothing's gonna happen over out
You
there.
governed the whole situation, you governed everything,
Yeah.
make sure everything was running smooth in the hood, yeah? Okay,
Yeah.
and the shoot went great, went good, as you can see.
Nothing happened, everything went smooth. The neighborhood.
Therefore, it wasn't only an attack that night in Washington, D.C. It was an examination. Cameron also passed it with scars that conveyed a narrative. You can become wealthy from the same story that makes everyone famous, but it can also make you a target. Cam transformed fear into focus, quiet into strategy, and agony into power. He now talks about life instead of just rap, because it is. He is no longer pursuing the same level of celebrity. He is the owner of the legacy he created. Ultimately, the night cam in Washington, D.C. came dangerously close to extinction, and the tale was